This is what you should be doing in class. I want to go over it for those that watch it prior to coming to class. Number 3, when you get here, you should find the slope in words. So the slope is going to be y over x, and it says the distance from home is on the y-axis and time is on the x-axis. So I should have closed my door. I hope y'all can't hear that. It is going to be the distance per, and let's just say we're talking about seconds. So it would be the distance per second. You can also write that as distance over time is going to equal the rate, the slope. Isn't that awesome? The slope is going to be the distance over time. Okay. Let's look at this next part. F of x equals, what does it equal? The function of, and you always put the independent variable here, time. Function of time. Okay, let's come down here and look at what this is asking. F of x would equal, and I want you to write all of that, function of time. There you go. And why does it equal that? Because f of x equals y. So this is just practicing writing f of x. Moving on. And one other thing, what else is the function of time? It is the y. So you can also write that y equals, here, the distance from home. So I'd love for you to put this and this for this question here. So I did number 4 in the video above this. Let's do number 5. The length of the rectangle is 5 more than 4 times the width of the rectangle. So let's do that. The length, L, of the rectangle is, now when you get to class, you're going to know this because you watched this video, that number 5 is off. So that should not be written that way. I've whited it out. And I'm going to rewrite the lines because that was off. And it didn't print correctly. So we will definitely know who didn't watch this when you come to class. But this is classwork, and I'll correct it in class. For those that know ahead of time, we know you're doing what you're supposed to do. So the length of the rectangle is, remember, is means to write an equal sign. And what is it? 5, and then plus for more. 4 times, dot for that. And then what are we multiplying it by? The width. Now you have to be careful when you write this answer because of this switch word right here. Than is a switch word, and it means to change the order of your information. So y is going to equal 4w plus 15. Or you can write it as f of x equals 4w. Oh, no. Miss Chris made a mistake. If I'm going to use w for width, I have to put w inside of here. So I don't want to confuse you. Let's change that to x. Okay? And let's change this to y because we're going to talk about the length. And I'm going to make that x instead of width, and then make that x instead of w. Now, I know those are, some of you are saying, well, how do you write it with a w? Well, let me show you. It's not that hard. The f of x would become f of w equals 4w plus 5. Okay? So, now we have it. Let's do the independent. The independent variable is going to be whatever the x stood for. And there it is. The width of the rectangle. So, width of the rectangle. And the dependent variable is going to be where the y is. Now see why I had to go back and put a y here and then an x here instead of that w? Because now we're talking about independent, which is x, dependent, which is y. And I needed to see that x and y in what I wrote down. So I'm glad I went back and changed that. So the dependent is going to be the length because it's talking about the total, the y, the final result. The length And what is this question asking you for? Well, it's asking you for the slope. So what is the slope? Well, it's right here. But what does it mean in words? It means y over x. Well, what is y? It's the length. What is x? It's the width. So it is the length of the rectangle over the width. Or the length per measurement of the width. You'll see this word per in between the independent and dependent. Well, for this one, it's the dependent and the independent because it's y over x. Use the calculator to fill in this table. So let's go here. And this is for those that missed class. And we're going to go to the graphing screen. So go home, go all the way down, go over. That's my graphing screen. And now we are going to put in this equation. So 4x plus 5. Enter. Now I'm going to look at my table, Control T. And now you know how to get the table. So go on up, -5, -15, and then go down to 0, 5, 1, 8, so 1, 9, excuse me, and then 8, 37. So we now have the table for that, and we did it without having to do the input and output. So you now know the shortcut. Number 6, given the word problem, write the equation, meaning write the rule. So the height, this is y, is 6 less, remember that's the switch, so we're going to change the order in a moment, less than, there's my minus for less, 3 times the amount of days. So the equation is y equals 3x minus 6. F of x equals 3x minus 6. Okay, what is the slope? Because it's the dependent over the independent. And it is, let's see here, the height over the time. So that means the dependent is going to be, which is, and the time is being measured in days, so I can say the height per day. And this is what you're going to do in class. That's it. The dependent is height, the independent is time. And so the slope, m, is the height per day. The slope is also the 3. The 3 is the slope. The 3 is the slope. So now we need to put this into a table and do that. So we're going to go home and add another graph. And if you remember from class, you could have remembered to, I just noticed something, that my calculator has a glare. So I'm going to move it here. Anyway, as I was saying, you could have also done Control Dot, and it would have added another graph when you went down. So just reviewing what we went over the other day. Now I'm going to put 3x minus 6, enter. Hit Control T, and there's my table. So I'm going to use these values and put them in my table. For -5, I would put -21. For 0, I would put -6. For 1, I would put -3. And for 8, I would put 18. Okay? And there's your finished table. Number 7, it wants the slope in words, so it's y over x, which is really simple. So this would be the water over time. This would be the number of jars of peanut butter over the number of peanuts. This would be the money earned, which is the y over the time that you worked, how many hours. And so, of course, you have to write the word per. So we would say the amount of water per hour. And then here it would be the number of jars of peanut butter and how many peanuts were in there. So per number of peanuts. And then here it would be the amount of money earned Could I say each hour instead of per? Yes. Okay. Alright. Let's move on and do number 8. Number 8. It wants you to read the scenario and then find the slope. Well, John opened his account with $300. So that means he started on day 0 or day 1 with $300, day 0. And then here, by the end of 12-month time span, he had $1,500. So before anything has happened, he's had $300. So that's day 0. And then he had $1,500 in the savings account. So that would be 12 months later. So now you use the 2 points in the slope formula to find the slope. Two things that should have been on here that are not on here that I'll mention in class is the x is going to be the number of months. And that helps me understand, because I was thinking, honestly, that 300 should be day 1, because that's what you're taking in on the first day you're opening up his account. But it's talking about months, and so if you're talking about months, then I can go ahead and say 0 months, okay? Because the month hasn't been completed yet. So this is x1, this is y1, x2, y2, and so that's going to be 1,500 minus 300 over 12 minus 0, which is 1,200 over 12, which is 100. So we now have the slope, and the slope is 100. And that's the answer to this question. It wants you to name the slope in words, and that's going to be the number of dollars in the savings account per month, because it is y over x. And now we do the last example. No, second to the last example. X is going to represent the month. This says first month. Mistake. X is going to be month, and Y is going to be the number of employees. So the first month the company was open, it had 2 employees. At the end of 6 months, the company had 10 employees. So at the first month, there are going to be 2 employees. So that means first, so 1 and 2 is the first point. And then 6 months, and then 10 employees. So it's going to be 6 and then 10. So now we find the slope. x1, y1, x2, y2, 10 minus 2 over 6 minus 1, 8 over 5. And you're done. That's the slope. So what does it mean in words? It is the number of dollars in the savings account per month. And that's it. Oh, no, I was looking at that graphic there. Oops, Miss Pierce made a mistake. So, what do we talk? Oh, yeah, it's the number of employees, Miss Pierce. Stop looking at the graph up there. I bet you guys are going to make the same mistake in class. It's the number of employees, because that's Y per month. There we go. Alright, so we got that done. Let's do number 10. So when you do number 9, don't look at that graph. Look at the question number 9. And I know you're going to do that. So it's probably good I showed you that. Number 10, last problem. It says that Mike and Megan turned on the family oven to bake cookies for their Christmas party. They noticed the following readings on the oven controls say panel. After 2 minutes, the oven has reached 180 degrees. After 4 minutes, the reading, look at that, mistake. Reading is 290 degrees. It's on a slope. So 2 minutes, 180, so that's 1 point. 4 minutes, 290, that's the second point. Find the slope. That means I'm doing minutes versus degrees. So I can go ahead and write the answer here. It's going to be the number of degrees per minute, because it's y over x. And so we label x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to come over here and relabel, because I just realized that you couldn't see the word problem while I was reading it. I hope I don't have to redo this video. We'll see. I'll look at it again. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. So this is 290 minus 180 over 2 minus 2. Now, what did I do wrong here? Should that be a 2? No, that should be a 4. From right there. So that should be a 4. That should be a 4. Alright, so now we do the subtraction here. And I want to practice with the calculator for those that want to see that. I'm going to add a page, and the page I'm adding is a calculator. And I'm going to do Control Divide and put 290 minus 180 over 2 minus 4. That gives me a negative 55, so that is my slope. And that is the conclusion of what we're going to do in class when I see you Friday the 24th and Monday the 27th. Bye-bye.